Our chairs, we can. Yeah, there's a couple more chairs there, but please take a seat.
Should be enough chairs for everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Why don't you bring it up? We don't have to reach it. I'll go some other. You need it. I don't know, it's right here.
So I have an individual that we kind of discovered each other like 6 years ago. And then she's friends with Nikki, so we did like some group shots together.
There's a few more chairs up front.
I don't know where to start, so I guess you just keep going.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for coming to our art exhibit and to our speaker, to hear Christine speak. I'm so excited that Christine is here. She got in touch with us 6 or 8 months ago. We got a letter from her, and she said she's gone to Sunday school here, and now she's an artist, and she teaches at the high school, and I was just so excited. And her subject matter is so fascinating too, and I've been very excited about getting her work on our walls, and we have it up now, and if you haven't had a chance, be sure to go upstairs and see all of it. It's on both hallways, so it goes all the way around both sides, and so please go see it. And now we're going to hear from Christine herself. She's going to tell us all about it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Welcome. Good morning. So, first of all, I just want to extend my deepest gratitude to the Ethical Society for allowing me this awesome opportunity. This has always been a dream of mine ever since I was in the preschool room upstairs. Pretty much we came every Sunday until senior year when I graduated in 2005. So this has always been like a lifelong dream of mine. So thank you so much for being here today. For my artist talk, I would also like to thank my wonderful models and friends that helped make these works possible. My friend Greg Holden, another nature photographer who helped me hang the show, and of course my mom for coming into town special just to help me prepare. So ecofeminism. I know most of you are probably wondering, what is ecofeminism and why is it important? So ecofeminism is a movement that sees the connection between the degradation and exploitation of the natural world and the systemic subjugation of women. Though the term was coined in the 1970s by the French feminist de Aubon, I only discovered ecofeminism after I created most of my art. So I am no expert, but I am an artist with an idea to share. According to the author of Like a Tree, there are 2 kinds of people in the world: tree people and non-tree people. So, tree people usually have some form of an emotional connection to a particular tree in their childhood and still feel connected to trees like friends in their adult lives. I assume most everyone in this room is a tree person. According to the United Nations Convention on Climate Change, 2020 was the 2nd hottest year on record. In 2 decades, global temperatures are projected to rise 1.5 degrees Celsius, putting places like Bangladesh and New Orleans at risk of being underwater. Since the 1980s, wildlife populations have dropped by 60%, and 1/2 of all amphibians are at risk of extinction. Intensity of wildfires have increased, with more than 2 million acres burned in 2021 alone, and 2/3 of all extreme weather events are influenced by human activity. The world loses about 10 billion trees per year, and total trees are down by half the numbers they were before the dawn of man. The economic recovery from the COVID crisis is anything but sustainable, but there is hope. The climate crisis has united the greatest number of Earth's inhabitants over the past decade, more than any other single issue. Now is the time to think big and rally around solutions. Individual recycling, just won't cut it anymore. We need to make systemic changes which address the twin oppressions of women and the environment in our society. Women have always been subordinate to men, and unless this ends, we and nature will always be exploited. Women tend to have a deeper knowledge of Earth systems because they are disproportionately affected by negative climate effects. Women make up 70% of the planet's core, yet are underrepresented in every government. Women are principal managers of natural resources in developing nations, and when women make up a greater percentage of a nation's parliament, the total carbon output of the society decreases because women in positions of power are more likely to ratify environmental treaties and see declines in population growth. When women do well in a society, the environment benefits and vice versa. Now, individually, a belief in God can bring a great deal of comfort and meaning to one's life, but systemically, Orthodox religion is extremely bad for the environment. Not only does religion, in its current state, encourage overpopulation and an expectation of paradise later instead of in the current reality, it sets up dangerous hierarchies of domination, such as man over woman, civilization over nature, human over animal, and us over them, instead of seeing the world as a beautifully interconnected web of life, of which humans are just a part. What good will sustainability efforts do if we believe as a culture the world will end within the next decade? The paradox of urgency is that there is always time to change. If we are to survive as a species and face the insurmountable challenges of climate change, we must combat the harmful capitalist and religious worldview that humanity's job is to fill the earth and subdue it. Ecofeminism is a path forward, allowing women the opportunity to step into our role as protectors of the earth. If we respected trees, rivers, oceans, and animals like we should, we wouldn't still be fighting for women's rights in the courts as we speak. Though feminists are not without bias, the basic liberatory principles of feminism uniquely position women to be able to do something. Now, just a little bit about my background. Oh, that's a lot smaller than it was. My name is Christine Warner. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an art teacher at Ladue High School. I studied art at Maryville University and in Florence, Italy. I fell in love with nature in my own backyard. I believe men can absolutely play a role in this fight. My dad was, in fact, the one to instill in me a deep love of the natural world through camping trips and hiking and stargazing. I also attended Ethical Society until senior year and went through the whole Sunday school program, where I learned a deep love and reverence for the natural world and all life upon it. I gained many things living in Europe, such as the desire to implement more sustainability measures here at home. In 2017, I was a victim of domestic abuse and found great solace in nature and my art. Therefore, half of the proceeds from my work will be donated to Safe Connections to help women and girls in similar situations. Today, I would like to share just a few of the stories behind my work. This is where it all started. Lady Lorax was created with my good friend Nikki Serenity. We have created since many works together, but I believe this is the most emblematic of ecofeminism. I took the familiar tale of the Lorax by Dr. Seuss and replaced that curmudgeony old man with a tree spirit in the form of a young woman. I was inspired to do the shoot when I stumbled upon a large patch of land that was being cleared for development along the riverfront in St. Charles. Environmentalists have been fighting the city over this project due to its effect on a rare species of bats that called this land home. Obviously, they were not successful. When humans feel the pain of a lost environment or landscape that they once considered home, it is known as solastalgia. Here, you can see this pain in the Lorax's eyes as she cradles the dead form of her brother tree, who seems to ooze the very life essence she is made of. Personifying nature allows us to draw more people into the cause, inviting them to feel empathy in a very human way. One thing I learned researching ecofeminism that I found surprising is the harm done by an essentialist framework which relates nature to women intrinsically. The link between women and nature is actually a social construct. that was established many millennia ago as a way of subjugating both. So we must be careful. When we refer to nature as mother or intrinsically female, nature has no gender. It's the paradox of any women's movement. To be seen as legitimate and non-threatening, it can be helpful for women activists to exhibit traditional gender roles, such as being docile or submissive. But those feminine movements are doomed to fail because femininity is not a trait typically associated with political power. So I will be relating nature to feminine entities today, recognizing it as a social construct in an attempt to subvert and reclaim the power of this connection. So what does it mean for something to be divine? Coming from a divine source? Is it possible to be a spiritual atheist? The main tenets of ecofeminism are reverence, kindness, and worship. Think of a time that you felt a sense of awe or wonder in response to a natural phenomenon, like the beauty of a sunset, the sound of a waterfall, or the transformation of a monarch butterfly. Now, imagine a stack of photos of every one of your maternal ancestors, starting with your mother, then your grandmother, and your great-grandmother, and so on. Imagine the stack is 1,000 photos high. How about 1,000,000? At which point does this photo no longer depict a human being? When does it become a single-celled organism? How high would that stack of photos reach? To the moon? We are the result of millions of years of survival. Against all odds, we are here. That's an incredible thing. How can we not have reverence for the great mother who supported our ancestors? Who here likes Star Trek? So I was raised with this show. For those of you unfamiliar with the franchise, it is set 400 years in the future, at a time when Earth has conquered all of her problems. There is no religion, no poverty, no war. It's basically the Imagine song. Earth is a paradise and the envy of the entire galaxy. I was going to show a short clip of a scene where a cadet is talking about her home on the moon, but I'll just describe it instead. In this clip, the young woman expresses a sense of awe associated with a lunar morning and elaborates on the beauty of the pure light exploding over the horizon and how shocking sunrise were on the moon. In her words, it felt like she met God every morning. This young cadet was describing spirituality in nature. For this image depicting wonder, I enlisted the help of my good friends, Melissa and Brian. I know I wanted to do a body painting shoot, and they were all too happy to volunteer. So Melissa represents nature with wind and rolling hills and a serene lake, and Brian is painted with geometric shapes and a cityscape to represent civilized man. In this image, the two are coming together in mutual affection and cooperation, one lovingly supporting the other. On this particular evening, just as we were heading back from shooting on Melissa's farm, the clouds suddenly turned scarlet and orange in one of the most beautiful sunsets I have ever seen. It was like the sky was showing off just for us. Now, Melissa informed me right before I snapped this photo that their wedding anniversary was right around the same time. So as they stood, holding one another in tearful silence, we were all overcome with the most powerful feeling of love. Now, I've been a tree person since childhood. There was this weeping willow tree in my backyard where I would disappear for hours every summer day, playing out make-believe stories cradled under her leaves. I felt alive when I climbed her branches to survey my kingdom. It was tragic the day she was cut down due to a storm. This tree is still my happy place years later, where I go in my head to seek internal peace. I photograph trees and combine them with female forms in my undergrad work at Maryville. So trees have always been a part of my life and a part of my work. I became a tree activist, however, in response to the deforestation I witnessed along the riverbanks in St. Charles. When all the trees in my local park were cut down, I knew I had to make work about it. Here, the trees in Vago Park are all in a line marked for slaughter. Within a week of this photo, every one of them was gone. My friend Lucy here represents the spirit of those trees. This work is called No Place for Children and depicts a long-forgotten playground, a symbol of childhood, which is no longer usable. We have outgrown our innocence and are entering our adolescence as a species. We have knowledge of what's to come and no longer have the option of hiding from our responsibilities to the earth. We see the remnants of butchered trees in the background, and the eerie absence of people makes this scene resemble a graveyard. The playground also serves as a symbol of women's role in protecting children, which has long been used as a device for political agency. In World War II, for example, women helped humanize those affected by the atrocities of Nazism through the Every Mother's Son campaign, echoes of which can still be seen in protest for Black Lives Matter today. Likewise, women can also be the ones associated with protecting the environment. The Green Belt movement in Ghana is a women-led initiative to connect poor communities with clean water and accessible resources like firewood and food. Native Americans believe Native Americans believe all organisms are children of Mother Nature and part of one family. In certain tribes, there is not even a word for nature because there is no distinction between the human and more than human world. The Hindu interpretation of the Vedic injunction gives sacred space to Mother Earth, recognizing nature as an extension of the divine power of God. Movements like this remind us that we are all connected. There is a deep relationship between social justice and environmental justice, since environmental issues disproportionately affect disadvantaged communities. So how can religion help the environment? With environmentalists being the most popular movement, or environmentalism being the most popular movement on the planet, there is already an overwhelming interest in improving the health of Earth's natural systems. 150 years since evolution was discovered, 1/5 of the world's population has outgrown Orthodox religion. But it might still have a role to play in this fight. My idea is to visually associate nature with spirituality and women so we can grant personhood to parts of nature in need of protection, just like we have for the corporations hell-bent on her destruction. There are many precedents for this strategy around the world. New Zealand just granted personhood and rights to the river Whanganui. Ecuador granted all nature human rights and set it up so any citizen can defend any part of nature in courts, an idea now being used in Bolivia as well. In Article 72 of this bill, nature even has the right to be restored. Our Great Mother needs representation in the law of the land, which can be granted, according to the First Amendment, if enough of us push the narrative that she holds religious and spiritual value. The Pope has already deemed ecocide a sin. We must reframe Christianity to focus on all God's creations, so we can argue for the protection of our most valuable resources. Would a loving God really put the giant sequoias here just for the profit of a few greedy men? I don't think so. Thank goodness for Teddy Roosevelt. If Christians really believe God created the earth and all life upon it, wouldn't they also believe he wants us to protect it? The need to respect nature is something all cultures can rally around as a universal truth of mankind. The earth has been devalued for far too long because of its association with the feminine. But I believe now is as good a time as ever to redefine the meaning and power of the word female. So I propose #SOL, and I did not write that on the building, the Save Our Lady bill, which will grant personhood to all manner of natural spaces, from the great sequoias to the Great Lakes, so she can defend herself in court like the human she is worthy of being. I employed the very talented Nikki Serenity to represent the life of Gaia throughout my work, because she is beautiful, vibrant, and brave, everything I believe Mother Nature to be. I'm not saying we replace religion with nature. I'm saying we add her. We add her as a spiritual model of connectedness and unity. The dualistic thinking that forms our entire Western paradigm is killing the planet. We need to consider the teaching of relational models, as in the Lakota greeting of Aho Mitakuye Oyasin, we are all related. We can use Christian iconography to add legitimacy to the environmental movement and reach a whole new demographic. Mother Mary is Gaia. The sun is God. It's a process worthy of reverence indeed. After there are no humans left to have faith in anything, nature will still be creating sunrises. So why isn't nature worship already one of the primary world religions? It seems so obvious that nature is divine. Well, throughout history, there have been consequences when women associate spirituality with nature, as depicted in the image on the right. There has been a very intentional campaign by organized religion to wipe out or commandeer all pagan rituals and beliefs. It's time to bring back balance between women and nature. And I connect them in all my work because I believe ecofeminism is what the world needs. In my art, that either takes the form of stories that exist or ones I must create. The lovely Nikki Serenity took the form of 3 powerful characters in my Lorax Trinity. After borrowing the Lorax character from the great Dr. Seuss, I decided that we needed a holy trinity here on Earth, of earth, air, and water, superheroes of divine proportions, capable of defending nature with the irrefutable power of a triad. One character is easily overpowered, as we saw in the Dr. Seuss narrative. 2 characters can turn on one another and become polar opposites like the witches and wicked or our familiar political system. But 3 represents perfect balance. Think of all the great things that come in 3s, from the pyramids to Star Wars. Triangles are the strongest shape in nature, in the universe, and are holy indeed. Just as the 3 graces have depicted perfect beauty throughout history, we need a pretty face to drum up empathy for this cause. We are hardwired as humans to care about the innocent and the kind, which is why witches were depicted or discredited through representations of wicked, ugly old women. Mary, on the other hand, has always been equated with youthful beauty. Have you ever seen an old version of the Virgin Mary? That is intentional. We are programmed to appreciate beauty and fight for it. So art matters in this fight for the divinity of nature. Mother Nature has the power to be eternal if we respect and care for her. Speaking of eternal, I would like to share the story of 2 very different island nations. Many of you may know the story or the tale of Easter Island. Polynesians migrated to the shores around 1,500 years ago and set up a civilization on its meager 63-mile diameter. These inhabitants at first flourished and within a few centuries overpopulated the land. They were greedy and focused on the might of their competing religious deities, constructing bigger and bigger and bigger stone heads, which is now all that remains of their once thriving civilization. It was not long after they cut down every tree, like in the sad tale of the Lorax, that they ran out of resources, were forced to resort to cannibalism, and within just a few short years, disappeared from the face of the earth completely. What a tragedy. A similar fate seemed to face the island of Japan. In the early part of the 20th century, because of the war effort in 1944, Japan was on track to cut down all of their great forests. Instead of continuing, however, Japan adopted a system called silviculture, which is the care and maintenance of forests. And within little over a half century, they are now one of the most densely populated places on Earth, yet 2/3 of their land is taken up by wildlife. So I figure, on this island called Earth, we can follow one of 2 paths and end up like Easter Island, cannibalistic in our obsession with competition, or like Japan, with respect for Mother Nature so ingrained in our culture, we wouldn't dream of destroying her. The choice is ours. Science fiction, I believe, can help us shape the future. This photo shoot, I wanted to choose a place that looked out of this world. So we went to Elephant Rock State Park. Poor Nikki had to sit through 3 hours of Star Trek style makeup as I transformed her into Mother Nature for an alien world. This series is focused on what we can learn from each other if we let our guards down and approach one another with curiosity instead of the colonial desire to dominate. That is why our protagonist here, a human, carries only a camera, a tool of reverence, rather than a phaser. My chameleon George even made a cameo to represent the wonder that we can find in nature. And we don't have to travel the universe or wait to die in order to find it. Wonder lives in our own backyards. Visions of the past can help us too. This is a reimagining of what could have been if women were allowed to lead in the days of the cowboys and the Indians. How would our relationship with nature be different if indigenous cultures were not all but wiped out? If we approached each other with curiosity, with wonder? We need to begin shifting the paradigm of domination to one of relational values. We need to bring back a pagan level of dedication to protecting the environment and capitalize on the surge of support for women's causes that have taken hold of the public's attention in the wake of the recent opinion on Roe v. Wade. Today is the start of a new women's movement, one that must connect with nature and all manner of intersectionalities if it is to be successful. The women's movement supports much more than just women. It has the potential of supporting the entire planet. So what can we do as individuals? Gardening is important, rewilding efforts, recycling, voting, of course. But the most important thing we must do is put pressure on our representatives to value the earth in all their decisions. Fight fire with earth, air, and water. How can art change the world? How can ecofeminism? By helping us believe nature is worthy of worship and protection with the laws of the land. We must fight with whatever tools we have, be that religion, the First Amendment, or motherhood. And we must become a model for other countries, the way Japan is a model for other islands. So in the future, my plans include collaborating with St. Louis organizations such as Mo Relief and CSTL. I would love to get together an army of artists with a call to art around the spirituality of nature. We need to recognize that we can embrace more than one religion and seamlessly integrate nature worship into whatever our current schema might be. And we must support women's causes all around the world. Thinking win-win will help all of us. For example, how would churches make money if people went into nature to experience God? They are a business after all. Could they charge for float trips or camping or hiking? Or maybe give sunrise sermons? How would corporations profit from sustainability measures? Let's help them do so. Worshiping nature is a rebellious act against our current system. It will take sustained courage and attention to the cause. And lastly, I will continue to experience awe in nature and make art I believe is capable of changing the world. Nature is not here for the wealth of the few. Solastalgia disappears in one generation, which is why art is so important in keeping our shared memories alive. So let's go back to that place in our heads we imagined at the beginning of this talk, where you feel a sense of awe or wonder in nature. Now what would you do to protect her? Thank you. Q&A, yes.
Yeah, what's your favorite example of an indigenous society that was led by women?
I like the Lakota, and I feel like Greg Holding can probably speak to that better because he's been around actual circles with the prayer circles. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, the Lakota people came out of the woodlands of Minnesota when the Europeans came to the United States, and they adopted the horse. They were one of the first indigenous peoples to adopt the horse, and they learned how to ride. Before Europeans came to the United States, women led the society. They decided when it was time to do something, when it was time, but Europeans would not deal with women. So they made men become leaders. So the men realized that power is nice. And so the men then decided to become warriors. Whereas beforehand, there was, tribes had conflicts, the indigenous people had conflicts. But it was, to touch an enemy was enough. You did not have to kill that person. Just to touch them was enough. It was called county coup. But with the Europeans, when they came to this country, they kind of destroyed everything. And you see that today reflected on the reservations. Crime, drugs, alcohol. It didn't used to be that way. So that's the maternal leadership we should get back to.
I agree.
Is your talk anywhere, or can you share it?
Well, my dad just live streamed it to my Facebook account. It's on Facebook, I guess.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have a business card?
I made some art show cards, and they have my Instagram scanner on the back, so you can like either QR code scan it, or there's like my website, or it's not my website, my email. I kind of use Instagram as a website. I don't know, do you do something similar, Lucy, where you kind of share all your photos on Instagram? And Lucy, by the way, is one of my models. She was Eve. Reimagining of Wally, the Wally narrative.
So Christine actually organized to go and do that entire photo shoot at a recycling plant. So that's actually on top of a crushed block of recycling.
You're not supposed to tell anyone this, but they used the forklift to get her up there. And they have resources. I realized I didn't cite them very well in my, but I went to Maryville, my home school, and had oh my gosh, so much fun researching this. It's infinitely, there's so much information out there, kind of like Greg was saying earlier today, that it's sort of hard to know what to focus in on. Yeah.
So is there are you part of a larger group?
No, just me. I'm just an
you.
artist. I'm actually a teacher. So my day job is I teach, and that takes up all my time. So this is something that's been a passion project that I've been working on for about the past 3 years, building the work. And when I got this opportunity to showcase my stuff at the Ethical Society, I was like, oh, well, I better have something good to talk about. So that kind of fed my need to go do more research about what it was that I was already perseverating on, just visually, and then put it into words and put it into action steps. So I've always kind of conceptualized that my work would be about instrumentalism, somehow being able to use work to make a difference or prove a point or be something bigger than just a pretty picture on a wall, but it was great to have this opportunity to put my thoughts and my thinking into words. So yeah, I'll share this presentation somehow, so if anyone wants to go further with the research and look into it, it was fascinating. So definitely not done. I'd like to maybe give this talk again sometime, I don't know. I'm constantly coming up with new ideas for the models of what we can do, and I would love to collaborate more with bigger groups, bigger art organizations. Yeah. So if anyone has any ideas, I'd love to know. Okay, well, enjoy the stones. If anyone has any other questions, I'll be here. I'm inviting you to go upstairs and view the work. Not all the work, obviously, was in the presentation, and there's some work in the presentation that's not in the show, but I do have a binder in the back with all of the work that I kind of put together for this. It was so hard to decide, because Lucy, when we go out to take pictures, we take 1,800 pictures a photo shoot, and then I narrow it down to one for each photo shoot, so it's a labor of love, I guess. But anyway, yeah, so thank you so much, everyone,